Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Apostate Weekly. I'm your host, James.
And I'm Ryan.
And this week, as promised, we are going to be talking about the Marking Talk updates, as well as what lesson can we learn from that Hawk Tua girl that you've probably seen all over the internet. And you're probably thinking, what? Hawk Tua on Apostate Weekly? Dang right.
Hawk Tua has a lot to teach you.
If she don't Hawk Tua, I don't want to talk to her.
Yep. Sounds about right.
So we got that and other stories coming your way. So stay tuned. All right, we are back. Welcome back. Oh, it feels like it's been a long week.
Why is that? Is it the heat?
It must be. That heat is just so
unbearable.
draining.
I feel so bad for displaced people right now. I walk Pickles obviously several times a day. So usually we do like an hour walk. I can barely take 15 minutes, like one little tiny loop, and I'm like, we got to go back home. And the pavement is so hot. I'm worried about her paws.
Yeah.
And at least I can come home and drink some cold water and some air conditioning. I can't imagine.
Last week on Friday, I was installing an attic fan on my house, and it was hitting the mid 90s that day. And I carry a water bottle with me that I can strap over my neck and just have with me. I probably went through 4 or 5 of those bottles that day.
Really?
It was just so hot. Oh my God. Yeah.
That's a lot, because I bet you probably don't normally drink that much water during that time.
Not usually, but that day I had to, because I was on the roof a lot. And then I had to go into the attic side of things, and attic is even hotter than being on the roof.
Right, because it's just stuffy air that's not moving. It's just hot oven.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it was roasting. I mean, you're so drenched in sweat. It's just like,
it feels like you're being hugged. Like it feels like you can feel the air on your body when it's that humid and hot. Like you walk outside and I feel like I'm immediately, a blanket has been thrown over me.
Yeah.
It's almost exactly what it feels like.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Uncomfortable.
And then your clothes won't come off because they're so wet and stuck to you. Yeah.
Yeah, I have to change my clothes after I walk Pickles, because I'm like, oh my God, my tits are all like, you know how you get like sweat under your chest area? I'm like, oh my God, this is so gross.
What they aptly call the not in my case, but other people's cases, under boob sweat.
Yeah, under boob sweat is exactly what it is. It's under boob sweat. It's exactly what it
the
is.
smell of apostasy in the morning. Yes.
My favorite dish to cook in the morning.
Right.
It's the breakfast of champions.
Because we're serving it cold to the governing body.
Right on a platter, babe.
That's right.
Maybe it's their head on a platter one day.
I don't know.
We'll John the Baptist them.
So,
anywho,
with that being said, why don't we actually do what we're here to do? You know, the show.
So we have to do work. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I guess so.
Well, you know what? I guess so. Well, do you want me to kick it off, since we've been talking about the Japan case for years at this point now?
Yeah, go for it.
All right, you guys. So we know that the Unification Church has been in the media for their harmful practices of trying to collect money. You know, they do very similar things that all these churches do, that Jehovah's Witnesses do, is they extract so much money and time from these people that it literally leaves them broke, right? So This led to a former member's child assassinating Shinzo Abe, who was the prime minister, which created a whole bunch of controversy. Well, now that that dust has kind of settled, the new dust that is being kicked up are the lawsuits that are coming up against the Unification Church. So 2 years later now, this is 2 years ago that this happened, a former member's child of the church is now bringing a case against them for 65 million yen, which equates to somewhere around $450,000. So it's a nice chunk of change. And I
Mhm.
don't think they're going to be the only person doing this. So we're going to be seeing a bunch of lawsuits about the harmful practices. Um, so we know that their fundraising is very controversial, and these burdens that they place on people causes, financial stress causes people to do crazy things, y'all. When you
Mhm.
can't feed your kids, when you can't pay the bills, but you still have to pay the church because you don't want to go to hell or whatever it is that they're implanting into your brain, you will do wild and crazy things. Well, some of these people went completely broke, giving all of their money to the church, which obviously left their children with absolutely nothing. So this daughter of a former member is suing for that much money. And now what is happening is the government has placed a hold on the financials of the church, which I think is absolutely brilliant that they have that ability. So they're making sure that secretly the Unification Church isn't transferring money here, there to hide their assets. Love that for them.
Yep.
That is such good news. I wish that our government would do the same thing. And also, if you didn't know, the church has been asked to be resolved by the culture ministry of Japan, of the Tokyo district court, excuse me, asked for an order for them to be dissolved because they're violations of the civil code. So and that case started in February. So we have no idea what the outcome is going to be of that. But this is all really exciting news because they could possibly go bankrupt if they're facing all these litigious problems.
Mhm.
And I wouldn't be mad about it. I would absolutely think that that would be less harmful for the people if they went under.
And remember, for those who may not be familiar with this church, this is a very militant church.
Oh
They
god, yeah.
they preach having weapons and guns and taking up arms if need be. So this is a very violent, militant church. On top of that, as a reminder as well, this is also the cult that cult expert Dr. Stephen Hassan was a part of
Yeah.
and got out of. And the reason why he became a cult expert was because of his experience with this church right here.
Yep. They were called the Moonies, if that sounds more familiar to anybody, and, they rebranded themselves as the Unification Church,
Well,
unified over stealing your money.
like any cult does when they get their hands caught in the jar, they change their name so they don't sound like they're the same thing.
Yep. Makes me wonder
So,
if that was part of why, like, we know the Jehovah's Witnesses went from international Bible students to their name currently. But now thinking back with all the context that we see today when that happens, why people change their name, maybe there was even something more to it than just wanting to steal an ideology out from underneath a group of people. Maybe there was also some kind of legal stuff that we'll just never know about. I don't know. It's just interesting
oh,
to think about.
that's funny culty talk. Oh, what will Massimo do?
Oh
Yeah,
no,
he'll
not
he'll be
Massimo.
he'll be hired to be an apologist for them as well. Don't you worry.
We care so much about introvig.
Idiot Vingy.
Yeah, whatever the frick his name is.
Yeah, I
What
know.
a simp. What an apologist. Disgusting human being that he cares more about money and the status of these religious groups versus the people they're harming.
So let me ask you a fun but also honest question here. So, how much money would it take for you to be an apologist for one of these organizations?
Wow, that's a great question. I have to say nothing. You could never pay me anything, um, just because my standards, but I could absolutely see, somebody else out here
But you
taking
could see,
taking the bag.
oh yeah, you could see the temptation of it. Absolutely.
Yep,
You know,
100%. I would just have to I'd turn it into a story. I'm like, "Here's the receipt. These MFers tried to offer me 5 milli, not selling out." But
yeah.
yeah, I mean, in this world, in this way that we live, God, I can understand why people would take the money and run.
I won't lie. I would be very tempted to take the money and, you know, do what they want me to do just for the
Start
money
start
and,
shilling J-Dub stuff.
and then retire after that though.
Right? Yeah, you could retire. See, that's the
So
blessing. If you take a payout like that, you don't have any more problems.
but I mean that's an honest answer though, because I've got a family, I've got
Yes,
kids to raise. They want to go to college. I could send them to college. There
right?
would be so many things I could do with
You have
$5 million
a
if
child
that
with
was the amount,
disabilities,
you
right? So
know.
there's lots of needs that you have that could be easily just like that taken care of, medical bills, right?
Hmm.
Your wife could stay home. She wouldn't have to worry about yeah.
I could turn her into a 1950s housewife.
Oh
Yes.
god, I for whatever reason, I just don't see that happening. I see Kristen like, "Yeah, F off."
Yeah. Uh, no, you do the dishes. You
Yeah,
clean
I
the
can just hear you like,
toilet.
"No." We love you,
Bas
Crystal.
It's basically what happens anyway, so.
Oh, dear.
So shall we move on
Yeah,
then?
let's move on. Just y'all, it's good news, and remember that court cases like these will set a precedent. So whether it's big, whether it's small, whether she gets, only $5 versus 450,000, it's a precedent, and that's a beautiful thing.
Yep, absolutely. All right, let's go ahead and talk about this whole marking ordeal
Uh-oh.
because marking has changed from the organization. So what I'm going to do
Yeah.
first though is I'm going to share with you what their old policy was on marking here. So do I need to make it
A
a
lot
little
bigger.
bit bigger?
Yeah.
All right. So in this is from the 99 Watchtower, July 15th. And I like how they started off here where he says Paul didn't lay down detailed rules as if trying to create a complicated procedure, but then the governing body does. But in here, they say, but it is plain that the elders should first counsel and try to help a disorderly one. If they do not succeed and the person persists in a way that is disturbing and that has the potential for spreading, they may conclude that the congregation should be put on alert. They can arrange for a talk on why such disorderliness is to be avoided. They will not mention names, but their warning talk will help to protect the congregation because responsive ones will take extra care to limit social activities with any who clearly display such disorderliness. Now, with that being said, I don't care how many times they want to say, oh, we don't mention the person's name. We all knew who it was in the congregation they were talking about.
Yeah, and you know what part of the reason that was, James? Because they make them meet in the Kingdom Hall in the back room on an
Yeah.
everyday average Thursday night meeting. You see so and so going back with brother so and so into the meeting and they don't come out for whatever amount of time. Like that's just so obvious. Like, oh my God.
So that is what their old policy was now. So that's old light. So I'm gonna baptize you all in the new light. What should we believe now?
Oh, yes, please, because this sounds like something that we should absolutely believe now versus 5
So
minutes ago.
yes. So this is from the actually the latest the August study edition on the questions for readers section. And if you're wondering what this is on the screen, this is me. This is screenshots I took of it. I'm not on the actual website for it right now.
Okay.
So that's why it's not showing up like it usually does other days. So now they're making an adjustment. Paul's counsel evidently, gotta love those buzzwords, because
Evidently.
they have no freaking clues what that really means, refers to an action that that individual Christian should take under certain circumstances. So there is no need for the elders to give a warning talk. And then they go, why the change? So why did they make this change? Is it because they got some new Holy Spirit light, or they actually read the context of the scriptures again? Who knows, right?
We know it's just because they're getting their ass handed to them. So they got to wiggle around. So they're going to reinterpret something and then rebrand.
Yeah, and that's all they're doing here, because their asses have been handed to them with the whole disfellowshipping, shunning, and marking, and all this going on.
You get in trouble.
And so I love how they try to define what disorderly ones means in this context. And
yeah, what the hell does disorder, like, how am I supposed to interpret that? Disorderly. Oh, he's not organized. Well,
so what was funny is there's a footnote on this that I can't show you, obviously, because it's a screenshot, but it said disorderly. It shows it here on this part of the screenshot, but there's another part of it that it doesn't show in their footnote. But here in the screenshot, it says that it refers to people who refuse to support themselves, and also people who meddle in other affairs. Okay. But the additional thing that they put in there in their footnote was that, oh my gosh, I had it just a second ago and it slipped my mind. Oh, I hate when that happens.
I just don't understand what does it mean when it says, yet some were still refusing to work to support themselves. Like, I understand in the context of the scripture, I guess
Right.
somebody's being lazy. So is that supposed to translate that they're being lazy in their faith? Like, oh, they're not going out in service. And I know for certain that they could. Is that what so now you're supposed to just assume?
Yeah. I mean, who knows? What if it could be talking about somebody who's got a disability and can't work, but yet they're going to make them out to be like they're lazy,
right?
when they're
I mean,
not.
what if your disability isn't something that's outwardly pronouncing? I know so many people who look quote unquote normal, but their body doesn't work like my body works. They can only walk 5 feet before they're out of breath and tired. Like, so is that what they're going to do? Start looking at every single person and determining how much work they should be able to put forth.
Yeah.
And if they're not meeting that quota, then not good
Yeah,
enough.
I know. It's just, it's
vague, like it always is. It's ambiguous, like it always is. It's shrouded in mystery, and that is intentional. So that way you can interpret it any harmful way that you wish to, because you know that they'll likely go to extremes versus landing on the less aggressive side. They're always going to be to that far polarized. Oh, it's not enough.
Okay, I had to go look it up so I could remind myself of what it said. I got to the footnote. So here's what the footnote says. For example, a fellow Christian might refuse to work to support himself, although able, might insist on courting an unbeliever, or might spread divisive talk or hurtful gossip. Those who persist in such a course are disorderly. So that's their definition of disorderly.
Okay, so they literally gave 3 examples. Is that what it was?
Yeah.
If you're courting, and why is it like, dude, what is so specific? Like, why do you have like, that's rather
I know.
specific.
It is.
Right? Like, isn't that kind of strange? It's almost as if like this is just like a fake scenario, a whataboutism, just again to do this reinterpretation.
Well, it was like with
Let's make a phony scenario. We know these happen, but let's just choose of these phony scenarios that could happen.
that usually don't happen.
Yeah.
You
Like,
know?
oh my gosh.
I know. And then I like this one, might spread divisive talk or hurtful gossip. You know, how much,
The elders
I
could
mean,
be accused of that, thanks. Just
exactly.
FYI, the way that they behave and talk about people just because they're at this level of hierarchy, they think that it's okay for their gossip. They go home, tell their wives what just happened in that personal private meeting, and
And
that's
then
okay.
the elders' wives talk to others' elders' wives,
Exactly.
you know, and so they should all be removed, the ones that are doing that. They should all be marked 666 all on their foreheads, the mark of the beast.
Yes, exactly. Oh
But I
my
mean, so now here's where it's changed now. Okay. So now they're not giving a talk to mark people. Okay, that's fine. But now it's up to the congregation to notice if an individual has been doing something that would mark them, I guess, in a, to the individual. And
Mhm.
then they don't want them to associate with them in social situations, but you can still associate with them and converse with them at the Kingdom Hall and for, theocratic activities, just not outside the Kingdom Hall, almost treat them like they're disfellowshipped in a way. Or I'm sorry, hang on, let me treat them like they're removed.
Right, remove, the new term.
Yes.
What baffles me, James, is I never scrutinize any of my relationships like this. Either my friend is good to me and I'm good to them, or they're not a good friend and I don't want to associate with them. Either my husband treats me with respect and loves me and cherishes me, or he doesn't and I'm going to leave the motherfucker. Like, I don't look at every single interaction to judge it to determine whether or not this person is being lazy in their faith. It's so weird to me how much pressure, like they're literally in a pressure cooker at all times being judged at all times, but they'll never see that because they'll tell people how like kind and compassionate they are when they have little radars determining whether or not you're a good person to associate with. It's so weird. I would never do
Oh
that
yeah.
in my
Oh, I know.
relationships.
I know.
I don't get it.
I know.
It drives you insane. And
It
you're
does.
so busy worried about what somebody else is doing that you're not really taking care of yourself, which is
Nope.
intentional because they don't want you to see the world around you and what's happening and how you can affect change. They want you to be so insular and self-serving that you overlook the nasty crap that's happening around the world that you actually could help.
And then while they're doing that, they want you to be so caught up in what they want you to do, no matter what it is, that you don't see the crap and how badly you're mistreating other people because they're
Yeah.
telling you how to do it and ways to do it. And you don't see it because you're so busy doing it.
Yeah. It's a system. Like
Yeah.
there is a blueprint. They know this blueprint and they just copy it over and over again. Our government does it to its people. The the hierarchy, there's all these hierarchies. The government's kind of up at the top doing it to everybody and then there's these mini cosms of the same thing happen, micro and then the macro.
Mm-hmm.
It just continues to happen over and over again. It's so
Yep.
wild.
And like Fee says, it's the amount of mental labor that you're required to do to maintain the group's image, and it's required to keep being part of the group. And that is exactly true right there.
Yes. 100%. I can't live like that,
So,
y'all. I hated living like that. I
yeah.
mean, quite frankly, I think that those ideologies are still kind of inside of you. I think it's because they've been programmed. Like I have to kind of sometimes fight that, but I usually catch myself like, honey,
Yeah.
mind your own business.
Yeah. And I think every ex-cult member catches themselves going back to those ideologies now and again. But that's the nice thing about breaking free. We can stop and be like, wait a minute, snap
Yeah,
out of it.
right. You
I'm
can
better than that. I'm not doing that.
100%.
So
Yeah, the system is designed to completely exhaust you. Yeah. You're not really growing as a person because you don't have the willpower to do so. You don't even realize that you've not been growing as a person and then that you've been stagnant because you've just
yeah,
been growing on spiritual food.
yeah, you're not really growing. You're just staying a a mental
Stationary. Yeah.
infant.
Yes,
Really.
infantilize the entirety of your life
Yes.
because you don't have that critical thinking skill to assess and because sometimes I look at my actions, go like, you know what, I could have handled that better. I could have done better. And I'm not saying Jehovah's Witnesses don't do that. What I'm saying is they don't necessarily know what better is.
Yeah.
That's the problem. Like I can rationalize and go, oh, better would be to have empathy and compassion in this situation. And for them, it would be better would be to pull up the scripture and show them why they're a piece of shit. Mm.
Yeah. Or better would be for me to, well, now that we're not doing public marking talks, I mentally mark them and now I can avoid them. So that's
Yeah.
better.
It's just, like, hey, if you're at a job, if you're at a place where you don't like somebody, you don't want to hang out, of course, don't hang out with them. No, everybody
Yeah,
should have boundaries.
of course.
But when you're assessing people's behavior, micromanaging their behavior according to JW logic, there's
Yeah,
just no logic to it.
because even with that, you're supposed to do that type of assessment even to your closest friends and family.
Ugh,
So it
your
doesn't
kids
just limit.
even.
Yeah, it doesn't just limit to people that you're kind of on the fringes with in the Kingdom Hall. It's all inclusive to even your closest people. So that's the problem with that teaching right there.
Yeah. So no more marking, guys.
No
Nothing to
marking,
worry about.
just mental markers.
Just mental markers.
And
Yeah.
it'll
You don't
drive you
have to
mental too sometimes.
You don't have to wear the A on your chest. People will just be projecting it onto your forehead when they look at you. No worries.
Can I just put 666 on my head instead?
Go ahead.
Anyways, let's move along. We got a very important story here to talk about. Tua.
Oh boy.
Hook two. So I know my parents probably won't know about this, but there's been this viral video going around. This girl went on somebody's social media after getting out of a bar with her friend, and I don't know what question he asked her, but she got famous overnight almost for saying, "Huck Tua, you got to spit on that thing," referencing adult material here. Okay, I'll let you use your imaginations.
Yeah.
Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is because right afterwards, there was a whole lot of information going around about this girl. Okay. They were saying she was a school teacher and she was fired from her job. They were saying her father was a pastor and, like a really religious pastor and all that. So I clipped out a video from an interview that she did on this, and I'm going to play it for y'all to see and compare the video of her words to what I just told you was spreading around on social media about her. So check it out.
But I worked in a spring factory. I'm not a school teacher.
That was my next question because
Or a
everyone said that
bartender.
you were a teacher and got fired from your job.
No, I'm not even old enough to be a teacher.
I was going to say, because you're 21, I'm like, this is illegal. Who are you teaching?
Exactly.
So you weren't
No.
a teacher.
Or a bartender.
So
Either one.
And also, I've heard rumors that your dad is a preacher.
My father is so far from a preacher. It's crazy.
So
a
everything
little
has just
offended.
been made up.
Oh, yeah. Like, none
Okay.
of it's true.
Wow.
So from her own mouth right there.
That's wild that people came up with all of these scenarios of who she was and not one lick of it to be true.
And if you
Why?
listen to that whole interview as well, she before this all happened, she wasn't on any social media. She had said how she deleted her social media accounts like months ago. And so people were literally taking her pictures that they found online, making accounts of with her pictures on it and stuff, and spreading this information, this made up stuff. And I brought this up for a reason, because whenever you're out there on the internet, and I try to be careful with the stories I bring to this show to make sure that I can give as much verification to them as I possibly can, because I don't want to bring any misinformation, to the best of my ability, onto this show. And if I ever do tell a story and I'm wrong on it, and anybody in my audience catches it, please let me know and I'll be happy to make a correction on it.
Yeah, and you know what? I think that's just something that's really important to be able to do, is to take correction.
Yes.
Like when you put out misinformation or got something wrong, it should be easy to fix, not a problem.
It should be.
There have to be whole new light revealed.
Yeah. And I mean, I know some people have a hard time taking correction, especially coming from cult backgrounds. It can be difficult because you're always trying to correct yourself and others all the time. And taking any criticism like that is difficult. However, it's important too, because
It is.
we need to be spreading true things and not false things.
Yeah.
And,
Always.
and I know this is just the next viral thing with this girl here, but like, that she was a great example of people just taking her stuff, spreading whatever they want to spread about her with no concern for what's true or what's not. And she has to go on this well, she doesn't have to, but she did go on this podcast and defend herself and say, look, this wasn't true. This wasn't true. This wasn't true. None of that's true. And here's why it's not true.
It's just interesting to see how rumors really do spread so fast with no credence whatsoever.
Yeah. And that's the bad thing about it too. People will spread rumors and have no basis for why they're even spreading it. Just, it just sounds good. Oh, cool. Yeah, that must make sense. No.
Mm-hmm. I think that media literacy, like I do it too. People tell me something and I might take it as is and then find out later, like, oh, shoot, actually that was misinformation, but I just believed it. Like me and my husband go back and forth all the time. Not back and forth, but like if I give him a tidbit information, like he'll check me. He'll be like, oh, yeah. Or he'll tell me something. I'm like, actually, so we do try to check each other, and not because we're trying to figure out who's right and wrong, but like it's important information that you don't want to fuck up.
Right. And that's the whole key right there. It doesn't have to be an argument. It could just be just a conversation to make sure that what is being said is correct.
Yep.
It's not about, you were wrong and I was right. Ha ha ha.
Yeah, no.
Who cares?
No.
Put your ego aside.
I just don't want to be spouting off harmful misinformation.
Yes.
Like I just truly don't, because there's just no excuse for it. Like it happens, whatever, but I'm saying like to continuously be that kind of person. No, but people lose trust for you. And I want people to trust us. I want them to trust me. I want them to know that we're never going to intentionally give them fuckery. That's important.
Yeah. And that's why I thought bringing that up was such a vital
I think
lesson.
That was an excellent example.
Because it's viral, it's out there. You can easily go find both the correct information and the misinformation, and compare the two.
Yep.
And I always tell people as well, if I say something, go ahead and fact check me. If you don't believe me, go fact check me. And again, if I'm wrong, if I got my information wrong, tell me. It's all good. I'll make a correction. I'll even give you credit for the correction.
Yeah, it's not a big deal.
It's not a big deal. I mean, the big deal is me putting out the correct information. That's the big deal.
Yep. actually, like what Fee said, misinformation is going to happen, but when it happens and you're made aware of it, you do with that. Yeah.
What you do with it
Blah, blah, blah. Exactly.
matters.
It does. It does.
Yes. Yes. So, yes, exactly. What we do with that after we know better is what matters. Like Maya Angelou says, when you know better, do better.
Yeah. And that's all I ever want for people, especially coming out of high control religion, because you don't really know better. And it's
Yeah.
very hard to do better when you don't know better. But now
And
that we have that ability without fear to learn these things, we really should.
And that is really one of the biggest dangers, I'd say, of social media is the ability to spread misinformation on global proportions, and nobody's being held accountable for it. Rather, they're being
Right.
praised for it. And that's the big problem we have.
Yeah. Entertainment. It's like people just like to hear things that they want to hear for entertainment value,
Yeah.
but people's lives are at stake.
Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like this girl right there, what could happen to her with misinformation being spread? You know, reputations could be ruined. It could make it hard for her to get jobs. It could make it hard for her to have a future. All of stupid that she did after she went drinking with her friend.
Right. Like, come on. That's silly.
I'm not saying that is happening, but these are things that are possible to happen.
Right. No, that's what I'm saying. Like, and that would just be a shame.
Yeah, it would be. So with that being said, that's all I got for the day.
Well, the next thing that we don't have to go over it for too long, but it is the new,
Oh, yes. Thank you.
not new, but I guess recent letter to the elders. And I would like to thank Kim for sharing it. Somebody sent it to her. I forget who, but it was on Kim's most recent video. We heard of this last week, I believe, at some point that this letter came out, but I didn't take a look until today. But y'all, we know that they've been pushing kids into these positions of power, but now it's just right in plain writing. Are there baptized brothers in your congregation who are in their early teens or younger? Are they exemplary in their personal study habits? Do they regularly comment at meetings and share in the field ministry? If so, give them assignments that are appropriate to their age and circumstances. In this way, these young brothers can be tested to fitness. Then by the time they are in their late teens, they can likely qualify as ministerial servants. Are you joking?
You know what really got me on this? And I read this too. The paragraph 3 there. It says, if sisters are currently being used to care for some of these practical tasks, please assign exemplary brothers, baptized or unbaptized, to care for the work. Like, how much more misogynistic
Yes.
pricks can you be?
It is so patriarchy encoded. Like,
Yes.
through and through, it's so misogynistic coded. I
And
cannot stand
then it gets worse. It says, if there are not enough brothers, please contact the circuit overseer for direction before using sisters. Like, God.
It really bothers me.
You know when Homer Simpson strangles his son in the cartoon? Why, you little? That's what I want to do with the governing body.
No. But it's disgusting that you would even be looking at children, right? Like, you're basically looking at young children. Who can I groom?
Yes.
That is what they're doing. They're grooming children who are not prepared, who are not trained to be in these positions of power, to hear the stories that they'll hear, right? I mean, you could be talking about a ministerial servant, a teenager who could be in on some kind of, we don't call it a judicial committee or whatever, but some kind of committee where there's maybe child abuse, physical abuse, what have you, that they are not prepared to speak on, but they will speak on it as if they are prepared.
I'll give you a good example of this too. and this is something that happened with me when I was about 13, 14 years old. I had just gotten baptized. I'm young teenager still. And I was out in a service group one day, and there was this sister who could have been my mom that started taking the lead for the field service group. And I remember, and this was, me being a good little JW, I stepped in, I said, excuse me, sister, aren't I the baptized brother here? Shouldn't I be taking the lead?
Ooh. Ooh.
And
Dang!
she goes, oh, you're right. I'm so sorry. But like, really, she was the more mature one, supposedly.
Right.
And, older one with more experience and all that. But yet me, little cocky teenager,
Yeah.
has to take the lead.
Yep. And that is grooming.
Yep.
I mean, you don't realize it because you're the
Yep.
one who's you have that control position.
Yes.
But honestly, you're being groomed to behave in a certain manner. That encoding is being impressed upon you on how to treat women. And now you're able to step back and clearly see that, like, wait a minute, actually, she was more mature. She's the older one. She has more life experience. More than likely, she's probably the right person for the job. But because you
Yep.
got something swang-a-lang between your legs, you're the one chosen for the job.
Yep.
Oh man, this shit boils me up.
Yes.
I just cannot imagine a freaking teenager sitting in on, like, I'm just imagining what happened to me as a teenager when I had to go to my judicial committee. And if there were somebody my age sitting across, that's
Yeah,
going to send me.
I mean, you
Yeah.
could just imagine seeing this going to where you have 18, 19-year-old elders in the
That's what's
future.
going to happen, because if they're so hard pressed, y'all, if they're getting squoze and everybody's freaking leaving, which is what's happening, that now they're so distressed that at first it was okay to ask sisters. And now for whatever reason, it must have caused a buzz. The only thing I can think of is that in the congregations, there was some kind of unrest. Unless this is coming from the top down, possibly, but I feel like this probably caused some unrest because there is that inherent misogynistic ideology that they have in their religion.
Oh,
That
yeah.
maybe that's why. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Children, y'all, children.
Yep. So
That's all I have. If y'all are interested in, I will put it afterwards. I did not put it into the show description, but as soon as the show ends, I'll make sure I put that link. Or you can go to Kim and Mikey's channel and watch Kim's latest video because she reads through it. And again, thank you to these amazing people who leak these documents. Like, y'all are real ones, seriously, especially the ones who are staying in just so they can do this work.
we shall call them the secret order of the leakers.
The secret order of the leakers. Yeah.
They always are
SOL.
taking a leak.
Secret order of the leaders.
Leakers.
Soul.
They're the soul man.
Oh man.
Okay. Well, thank you for reminding me about that. I was about to wrap it up and you brought me back in. So thank you.
Brought you back in. Yes, I had to bring you back into the fold, James. I needed you to see your wrong path that you were traveling and come back to the right path.
My path was trying to go to bed.
Go to bed. This was a good show. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate all the comments. Like, you guys actually teach me a lot too with your comments. I don't know if you know that, but like, you give me insight, you give me ideas. So this is also just part of my waking up process, being able to speak on these matters and see myself in the context of the person I was reading this information. And this might have made actually no, because I still didn't understand why women were different than men. So actually this wouldn't have made sense, but I would have went along with it because I had no choice. But now I can see it for what it is, and truly disturbing rhetoric to put a teen into this position to be tested for their fitness. Ew.
Oh yeah. And I remember being in, I didn't realize how misogynistic and patriarchal it really was when I was in it, you know? So
I marked somebody.
you leaked them.
I
So,
leaked,
so you marked your.
I leaked on somebody, therefore I
You
marked
leaked-
them.
Yeah. So let's talk about it now.
But honestly, you guys, I love you. You're amazing. You've been here with us for, I don't know, even however long we've been doing this,
Yes.
but 3 seasons now. So please continue to like, to share. If you have any other social media and you want to share this, that would also be helpful. We appreciate it. And remember, one of the most important things is to watch the video all the way through. Even if you have to put it on like 2x speed,
Mm-hmm.
YouTube really looks at that. They look at how long you stay and watch the video. So
Yes,
stare at our
definitely.
face.
Or you could just put it on and not watch it. You know, that's fine too.
Red? Hey, but no, honestly, seriously, if you want to like go do that and boost our views, I mean, I would not be mad at you.
Nope, not one bit.
Not one bit. But anyway,
So
thank you
yes.
guys.
Thank you guys. We do love you all. We hope you all have a great week. And we will see you next week. And we'll bring you the best apostate content we can possibly give you.
That's right. Until next time.
So, yep.
Free Palestine,
Peace.
free Congo, free Eritrea, free Haiti, free Hawaii.
Tax the churches.
Tax the churches, baby.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.